Hello, welcome to Point of View. Today we'll be talking about the Perennial Candidate Goes Whining on YouTube. Haha, here a political candidate is complaining that the Singapore civil servant, or rather the MPs, are getting very big salaries. Efficacy in natural, physical or social capital dictates that candidates must be able to manage and improve policy and social changes. Competent and trusted candidates are rare. Therefore, salary is not the issue here. Singapore is successful and rich and able to compensate those politicians who can deliver.
On this issue, they have the right to be angry, and especially at a time like this when the global economy is bad and people are suffering economically. Many have had to take huge pay cuts. Many have been retrenched. And yet, these political leaders that we have continue to enjoy the massive salaries and allowances they are given. You know, PV's position on this issue is very clear and simple. From the outset, we have said the mayor's role is totally redundant, and there is absolutely no need for Singapore, which currently has 93 MPs, for a small city nation, 93 MPs, to have any more mayors. It is just a duplication of work which the town councils can do, all right? And you know, my friends, you know the score. Our parliamentary system now, constituencies, are divided mainly into GRCs, all right? A grouping of 4 to 5 constituencies. And even when you have a single member constituency, like Hougang or other constituencies, the party that wins it usually then adds it on to a GRC. So for example, Hougang SMC is grouped together with Aljunied GRC, which is also controlled by the WP, all right? And they operate as a town council. And you find similarly that happening with the PAP constituencies. Yeah? For example, the PAP control Jurong GRC. They also control Pioneer SMC. And so Pioneer SMC groups together with Jurong GRC to form a town council. And the argument there is economies of scale. Fine. If you have that system, why is there a need for duplication of work with the mayors coming in? Now, I'm going to talk a bit later about the PAP silly arguments in defending the mayor's role. But for PV, we say do away with the mayors totally, all right? It is a silly system. It is a part-time system, as the PAP themselves admit. It is bloated. It is an overpaid position, all right? And there is absolutely no place in our parliamentary system, especially for a small country like Singapore, for us to have mayors. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, I want to say this also. Mayors are usually found in countries with a federal system. For example, Indonesia, where you have the central government, but the provincial governments are very important. Mayors are important in a system like America, where there's a federal system. And again, you have the federal government, but you have state governments, state rights. Or Canada, big countries. where you have big cities and you need mayors to run those cities. So cities like London, cities like Paris, Moscow. The mayor of Moscow is a very powerful position. The mayor of New York, the mayor of Jakarta, all right? It's so silly, isn't it? You think of Singapore, you know, this tiny nation, and we have 5 mayors. What are we doing? You know, yeah, it is a self-invented system by the PAP, yeah, right? And but more importantly, and I want to stress this repeatedly, all the mayors I know in all the other major cities are all elected. Yeah, it's not the system we have here. So PV will do away with the mayors. If really we can't do away with the mayors, you know what? We will make sure that there is only one mayor for the entire Singapore, and we will make that position an elected one, all right? And a full-time one. We will not have this nonsense that, you know, you can be a mayor, you can be an MP, you can be a minister of state, or you can do any other job, all right? Look at Britain, look at London. The mayor of London is not an MP, all right? A very famous mayor of London was Boris Johnson, the current Prime Minister of England, of Britain. He was not an MP when he was a mayor. He had to be elected to be mayor, and he ran for elections twice as a mayor, and he was successful. But when he eventually decided to go into national politics, which meant he had to be a member of parliament in the national parliament, he relinquished the job of a mayor. That is the proper way, because that ensures that you are totally committed to serving your residents, totally committed to your job as a mayor running an important city, or in Singapore's case, yes, running an important city. You should not be a mayor running a small district, all right? You should not then be given the title of a mayor. You should be called district chief, or in Indonesia, what they call the bupati, which is the chief of the district, yeah, but not a mayor. So, you know, if the PAP is unwilling to change its ways and insists on 5 mayors, you know what Singaporeans must demand? They must demand that these 5 mayors become full-time mayors and not part-time mayors, all right? And we must have a drastic reduction in their salaries. Now, PV is the only party that has said that the Prime Minister's salary must be slashed by 70%. You know what? Even when you take the Prime Minister's salary of 2.2 million a year and you slash it by 70%, he still earns $660,000, which is what the current mayor is being paid. And that is still a lot more than what the Australian Prime Minister, who is second place, is paid at $550,000. Now, PV, if we have to keep 5 mayors, we will make sure that they are full-time. We will concomitantly slash their salary by 70%. And even after you slash 70% off $660,000, you know what you're left with? $198,000, which is still a lot of money. And most Singaporeans don't earn that amount of money. And let me remind you again, 40% of the Singaporean workforce earn $3,000 and below every month. Let's remember that. Let's remember that. And you know what? If the PAP still insists on not reducing salaries or making the job a full-time one, then I call upon the existing mayors to do the decent thing and not take the mayor's salary and represent to the Singaporeans that they are in this position to serve the residents. they are not going to be paupers. I mean, even look at Denise Phua, who's the only full-time mayor. She's also an MP, all right? And she gets an allowance, an MP allowance. They don't call it a salary, they call it an allowance of $192,500 a year. Now, I think that is a very comfortable amount to live on. And you know, if despite what I have said earlier, the PAP and existing mayors still are not willing to change, then I suppose we are left with only pathetic excuses, all right, which the mainstream media and people like Chan Chun Sing have been making today in defense of an indefensible position. Let's put it that way. And let's examine the pathetic excuses and justifications which the mainstream media and the PAP have come up with to defend the mayor's position. I recall one interview that Lau Yen Ling gave to Channel News Asia, I think it was, and she said she compared the mayor's position as that of leading a middle office, you know, in the execution of various plans and making sure that the back end work was done, you know, to ensure the execution and all that. Now, why can't that be done by MPs running town councils? Why do you limit town councils to only managing your estate? All right? In other countries, local authorities, town councils, are also involved in the schemes which the PAP tell us that the mayors concentrate on. And you know what? I can't help but laugh and come away laughing when I read what the mayors are doing. They seem to be distributing vouchers, all right, vouchers, all right, or they glorify it by saying, oh, various assistance schemes. Why can't that be done by the town councils, you tell me, or the local MPs? And when you examine closely what how the PAP defend the mayor's role, you know, it is nonsensical, isn't it? Listen to what Denise Phua said in Parliament when she tried to rebut Pritam Singh. And, you know, even more comical were the arguments of Chan Chun Sing yesterday, all right, reported in the mainstream media today. Again, defending what the CDC and the mayors do. And you know what? It was all a lot about nothing. He used a lot of fancy words like economies of scale, yeah, community connection, optimization of efforts or whatever, I can't even remember. He literally trawled through the entire dictionary, I would say, looking for fancy words, yeah, to justify the mayor's position. But when you read, when you go through the long list of words he used, the fancy words he used, you realize that this man is talking about nothing. Yeah? And that is how pathetic the PAP have become, you know. And this is something I say. They put a spin, they try and put a spin on everything, but it's all fluff and nothing else. You know, there's an American expression that captures this the best. Where is the beef at the end of it? You know, having said all this, my friends, we know something. The PAP are not going to listen to the people, all right? They will keep coming up with fanciful arguments to try and buttress and justify the mayor's position. But they will not change. And that is one thing that we have been taught, that, you know, this is a leopard that won't change its spots. And so at the end of the day, the only way we can change this system if we want to is to kick them out of Parliament, is to change the government in the next general election. And that is the only way we are going to change an undesirable system. And it comes back to the point I make constantly. And I want the opposition to be serious. I want the opposition to be serious about taking power. Because, you know, you can be an opposition in parliament for 30 years yapping away and still no change happens. So I hope, my friends in the opposition, let's be serious, and in the next election, let's do what is needed to be done, and let's kick out this useless government. Now, I have said this before, and I think one of the biggest complaints Singaporeans have about our present political system is the no blame culture of the PAP. All right? Look at the number of mistakes, big mistakes, that have occurred under their watch in recent years. You know, the fiascos with the hospitals, the hepatitis C fiasco back in 2015, the data leaks, all right? At the end of the day, all they do is they put up their hands and say, we have a no-blame culture in this country, yeah? And I think we must move on from that. We must have a moderate blame culture where people are held accountable. And I think that is why I have a very big problem with the mayor's position in Singapore, because it is an unelected position. And if you are not happy with your mayor, there is no way you can remove that mayor. All right? He can only be removed by his party, the PAP. That is not right. And, well, I'm not saying about his effectiveness or whatever, but again, I have raised the example of Teo Ho Pin, who was mayor for 19 years. You know, in a proper democracy, that 19 years can only be enjoyed if you receive the confidence of the electorate every 4 to 5 years. That is accountability, all right? And for too long, this nation has had a political system where there is very little accountability and too much of the no-blame culture. And as a result, we have regressed. And you know, this mayor's issue is very important to PV because it addresses one of the most important principles. In fact, I would say the most important principle to PV, which is that of equality. We in Singapore, we now live in a nation which is one of the most unequal anywhere in the world. And that is why PV is committed to slashing the Prime Minister's pay by 70% and adjusting the pay of the other political leaders, ministers, and even the top civil servants accordingly. We cannot carry on with this system of paying crazy monies for our public servants, people who are meant to serve the public. And you know, it angers me when I hear people like Josephine Teo say, oh, inequality is actually a sign of our economic success. That's total nonsense, all right? And then this lady can answer in Parliament, I think it was in Parliament, when pressed on the issue of national servicemen allowances, all right? And a lot of Singaporeans are saying, the allowances we give to our national servicemen must increase. And a lot of our national servicemen have to look after their parents as well, all right? And when they go into national service, they have to give up whatever businesses they were running. Yes, we have young entrepreneurial business people, who are running proper businesses and supporting their aged parents, and they have to give all this up when they go into national service. And I don't know what the current allowance is now, but it is not enough to sustain themselves and to look after their parents. And when Josephine Teo was asked about these questions, she said, you know what she said? Oh, you can't measure national service in terms of dollars and cents. Well, if that is the case, I'll ask her to go and repeat that answer to Goh Chok Tong, yeah? And I will ask her to repeat her answer to those who say that the mayor's salary should be slashed, all right? Why isn't that answer, Josephine Teo's answer, used to say that the mayor's salary should be slashed drastically, or the mayor should not be getting a salary because they are already enjoying an MP salary, $192,500 a year for an MP, all right? So, they're talking out of two mouths, as they will say, all right? For one segment of the voters, they say one thing. For another segment of the voters, they say another. Try and reconcile that. I have long ago given up on trying to make sense of the PAP's arguments. And you know what is even more outrageous when you talk about these obscene salaries, like the mayor's salary, is the fact that the PAP refuses to give Singaporeans a living wage, a minimum wage. All right? They will not countenance that, and they come out with all sorts of bogus arguments as to how a minimum wage will sink us economically. Yeah? And at the same time, they tell us, oh, we've got to pay our political leaders these obscene salaries, paid for by taxpayers. All right? My friends, I am someone who likes to let the facts speak for themselves. And when the facts roll out, you can see how absurd a political system we have today. As you know, I'm Lim Tean. I'm a lawyer by profession, but I'm also the founder and the leader of People's Voice. And you have probably watched many of my videos, and I hope you enjoyed this one. And if you are committed to the cause of Singapore and you believe in the principles of the People's Voice, equality being the most important, I hope you will join us. I hope you will donate to us. I hope, yes, come and be one of our volunteers or members, because we are in a movement together to change Singapore, to change the way our society has been functioning for the last 20 years in a very bad, in a very regressive manner. But we can be better, and I hope you join us in this movement. And I hope you have enjoyed watching this video, and a big thank you for giving me your time.
Efficacy in natural, physical, or social capital dictates that candidates must be able to manage and improve policy and social changes. Competent and trusted candidates are rare. Therefore, salary is not the issue here. Singapore is successful and rich and able to compensate those politicians who can deliver.
We have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Let us know the videos you like and leave your comment below. We have regular videos, so be sure to hit the red button below.